Is it possible for the AV industry to be more sustainable and more profitable at the same time? Today I'm speaking with Karl von Kries from Technomad, an outdoor loudspeaker manufacturer, about how they're doing both. Karl, thank you for joining me today. First question, the shell of Technomad's outdoor loudspeakers is built through a process called rotomolding. Would you mind telling us what is rotomolding and how does it work?
It's an elegant process in many ways, but it's also one that hasn't really changed since the 1950s. You put a bunch of plastic powder into a hollow mold and you heat that mold typically in a big gas-fired oven. The metal shell gets hot and the plastic powder starts sticking to the inside of the mold. And once it's sufficiently melted, you then stop heating it and you start cooling it. And the plastic goes from a liquid or semi-molten state to hard plastic. And then you open the mold and you extract the part. But the downside is you are dumping a whole lot of typically fossil fuel energy to burn these relatively inefficient heaters. And the second you've achieved your goal, which is to melt the plastic, then immediately you want to get rid of all that heat. You just paid for it, you bought the gas, burnt the gas, heated the product, and then you're saying, no thanks, get it out of here. And you spray with water, big fans, whatever. So that always struck me as the Achilles heel of rotomolding. And even if you didn't care about the climate, which is foolish, but even if you didn't care, you care about the fact that you're spending all this money to pay for the gas that you're just burning and throwing away.
Right, so heating those molds can be very expensive, but you've got another idea that harnesses the heat from the sun in the manufacturing process. Where did that idea come from and how does it work?
The impetus was really the factories in a hot New England summer and just knowing that the roof of a building was 130 degrees probably on the metal roof, and yet we were still paying for gas, always struck me as this odd thing. Like, can't we do something with that? And many years later, I thought maybe we could try this using heliostats. And heliostats are these very cool sun tracking mirrors that keep the reflection from the sun on a target that you specify. Even as the sun moves across the sky, the heliostat makes little adjustments to keep that reflection where you want it. And if you have 50 heliostats, you can have 50 times the heat intensity of the sun on that target. And if that target's a rotomold that's painted black, you can really suck up a lot of heat, and you can do it in this completely clean way. We're getting like 85% of the heat energy and light energy of the sun reflected right onto that target. So it's a really great way to capture heat in real time and use it to replace natural gas, and it works beautifully.
So by eliminating the need for fuel sources like natural gas, what kind of cost savings are we talking about here?
So there's going to be a natural economic incentive to use this cleaner, greener tech, because unlike a lot of other sustainable efforts where there's an upfront cost, like we're going to pay a little more now and we'll save over 10 years. In this case, with solar rotational molding, there's an immediate clear savings to doing it with the green process. The energy input could be 15 to even 25 or 30% of the cost of the product. And in commodity product, you save 3 or 4%, you're a rock star, right? And we're talking about something that could be approaching 20, 30%. So it's really disruptive.
And in addition to cost savings, it's also a zero emissions process, right? So what sort of a responsibility do you think that companies have to be more sustainable? And can you quantify what kind of an impact would this have on the manufacturing process from an emissions perspective?
Climate emissions are a real problem. They do lead to global warming and other disruptions, which are hugely impactful. And if we don't manage that now, it's going to be much, much harder to fix later. And I think companies can and should do all they can. For fairly optimized rotomolders trying to do an efficient job, our best estimates are that molding a pound of plastic will emit at least a pound to a pound and a half of climate change gases. And for many operations, it's 2 or 3 times worse than that. We're talking, billions of pounds a year of climate change gases emitted. And so it's exciting to think that we can take molding that emits billions of pounds of climate gas a year, on a per process basis, we can take that down to 0, right? It's not a little reduction, it's all the way to 0, which is really exciting.